It's not very good.
I would definitely put it in the top 10.
So good.
It's kind of a mess.
A great work of cinema.
Train wreck.
Beyond a slasher, beyond a jump scare.
More thought has gone into the story.
Respecting the source material.
Extremely gory, extremely violent.
The lighting, the sets, the costuming.
Extremely scary.
Well staged, well shot, well acted.
I saw the comedy for what it is.
Relentless.
It was just really, really good.
This is pretty cool.
Another reason why I think it's
So good.
Silent breed is people!
Hello, hello, and boo, and welcome out there. Happy Halloween to all of you out there watching and listening. We are doing this near the greatest holiday of the year, of course, but you have stumbled upon Johnny Has the Keys, or it's in your queue, and you just are so excited to be with us again this week. This is a podcast where we discuss horror and science fiction, key elements of the particular topic of the week, and then things that topic may have influenced going forward, hence the key in the title. We are totally unscripted. We've been doing it for quite a few years. So if you like what you hear or see today, head up our website or go to the YouTube channel and look at all the other possibilities that are out there of other films, novels, television series, whatever that we have discussed. My name is David. I'm here with my good friend Tim, and Tim and I are excited about Halloween. But Tim, what have you been doing this week? You been putting up decorations or carving pumpkins or?
Oh, they went up in August.
Of course they did. What did we say last week? We said Halloween season starts on July 5th.
Just after Christmas.
Yeah, no, that's Valentine's. The day after Christmas, Valentine's candy comes out.
This
and
is
then
true.
The day after Valentine's, Easter.
Yeah, I was listening to a podcast a while back, and they were griping about Halloween candy being out in July. So now I guess it's pretty stale.
Probably.
Oh, wow. We usually break the ice with a little something that we did in our genre topic, mine, of course, being horror movies. I went back and watched a little movie. It came out in 1981. It's a little gem called Scanners.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
We hold Cronenberg in high regard now because of some of the stuff he's done within the history of violence, stuff he's done with Viggo Mortensen. But I was never a huge fan of his back in the day. I recognized him as being a talented individual doing indie horror, but not always movies that I thoroughly enjoyed. And I hadn't seen this one in quite a while. I'm not sure what it is. There's something about early Cronenberg movies that rub me wrong, especially this one. I like the later ones, like The Fly, Dead Ringers. In this one, the cast is okay. It's got Michael Ironside in it, who I really like, and Patrick McGoohan, if I'm saying that right. They're great. But everyone else, including the lead, who is played by Stephen Lack, are forgettable.
Yeah.
See,
I didn't even remember the
look
name.
at that look on your face.
I was going, wait, the lead? Yeah, isn't it? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, who is it? A synopsis is: a shadowy corporation hunts down powerful telepaths known as scanners, individuals with dangerous psychic abilities capable of reading minds and causing fatal harm. When one scanner, Cameron Vale, is reduced to infiltrate the underground scanner movement led by the ruthless Daryl Revok, he uncovers a conspiracy more sinister than he imagined. I guess for those of you out there that are unfamiliar with this movie, that is now, 44 years old? It's known for its special effects more than anything, especially when a guy's head explodes, like right there on camera, about as big as our head is on this screen right now.
Yeah, an incredible effect. For years and years, that was great makeup, and then they said, no, we just shot the head. We just blew the head off with a shotgun. Don't really know if I consider that makeup or not.
And it was like just filled with strawberry jam or something.
Yeah, yeah.
It was very red. It only gets 67% on Rotten Tomatoes with 43 reviews. I say that's fair. I might even take it down a notch. The sound really bothered me in this movie. And the version I saw was on Turner Classics, and it was the Criterion cut of this movie. And the sound still wasn't good. It was an early Cronenberg offering when he was still doing really low budget.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's what I did. I went back to 1981. I get all nostalgic around Halloween.
Well, you should, because I suffered through Star Trek Discovery, and about, I guess, season 3, when they did the huge time shift and everything else, the head of this nefarious part of Starfleet that is doing all of these weird experiments and temporal disturbances and yada yada is this character. And he came on, and he's very droll, and he's very straightforward, and he's very matter of fact in his delivery and everything else. It took me like 4 minutes to go, who is that? Oh my God, that's David Cronenberg. And he's actually a recurring character in Starfleet Discovery. I know he had acted in a few of films, cameo pieces and stuff like that.
He's in a movie that we're covering this season, actually.
He's the villain in one, right?
Yeah.
Isn't he the bad guy in one? Yeah.
He is.
But I agree with you saying that there's something about, especially his early work, that feels pseudo drive-in to me, and feels like he just didn't have the technical prowess yet to do the story, or he's intentionally doing bizarre to be bizarre.
Well, I think his main strength is very similar to Romero's strength. Is usually he's got some underlying criticism of societal norms.
I agree with that.
Going on in society. So there's definitely some subtext to his films.
Correct. Totally agree with that. And I think that's what sets some of his better later stuff, Dead Ringers, and even the Stephen King one, Dead Zone, and stuff like that, aside, it elevates it above like a Stuart Gordon or somebody like that, or even a David Lynch. But his early stuff, like, I remember the one where the girl she's a vampire, but she has a thing in her armpit or something. It's just weird for weird.
Is that Rabid? I can't remember.
Yeah,
Marilyn
Rabid.
Chambers was in.
She's like a porn star.
Yeah.
And then you've got Shivers, I think he did. The
did.
Brood. We covered The Brood.
The Brood, the only reason I picked The Brood for us to cover several seasons back, it being an early offering, is because of Oliver Reed. I just like Oliver Reed a lot.
Well,
and
yeah.
Samantha Eggar.
I remember liking Scanners.
Michael Ironside is a presence. He's a great character
always
actor.
great.
Awesome. But back to the Cronenberg thing, I feel like, and I think I've said this ever since the 80s, I feel like his best films are The Dead Zone going forward. And if
definitely.
you go backwards, they're not so great. And Scanners and The Brood are in that, unfortunately.
Yeah, The Fly, Dead Zone, Dead Ringers.
History of Violence.
History of Violence. Yeah, when he gets into his more very topical but less scary, I guess, or less.
Didn't he do one called something about Crash? It was about someone that was into car crashes too.
Yeah.
And he did one called Existence. I think that had like Jennifer Jason Leigh or somebody. Some of these I have not seen.
And then he got into Viggo Mortensen land. That's when he did History of Violence, and I think
started getting like award notices and stuff.
Eastern Promises, all of that. So yeah, I think it's weird. We always support Cronenberg and like Cronenberg, but yet there's issues.
I think it's the same with a lot of horror directors. Romero and Carpenter are the exact same. Some of their movies are good.
Well, we just finished covering a Romero that we didn't like. So yeah, I remember that. I was also in horror world for my genre week, because I think I turned you on a few weeks or months or whatever ago to this audiobook that's the Essential Lovecraft is the name of it. Mm-hmm. And I think it's free too, by the way, isn't it? I'm pretty sure it is on Audible.
Well, you gave me a copy, but I don't know if it was free or not.
Pretty sure it's free on Audible. If you like H.P. Lovecraft, you must have this audiobook, because it is literally his entire compendium. It is everything he ever wrote, short story wise, novella wise, everything. The description, which Audible has, I like, is Howard Phillips Lovecraft was the early 20th century genius who, almost single-handedly, pioneered horror and scientific fiction only to die in near obscurity. Rediscovered by critics and scholars in the 70s, Lovecraft's works have influenced, by their own admission, every major horror or science fiction writer of today. And I would think that's probably true.
Well, I would say most horror writers definitely mention him.
Do you think Lovecraft is more inspirational to horror writers than Poe? Interesting question.
I used to argue this when I was in college. I always used to raise hell with my English professors about why they didn't cover Lovecraft. They see him more as a pulp writer. Poe wrote poetry, so he immediately got put into literature and more respected.
Literary.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So
I
think
totally
you've
agree
got
with that.
like a literary versus a pulp thing. However, as far as horror being taken seriously as a genre in literature, he should very well be one of the monuments of study, I would think. Another reason why he is not very popular, though, is because of his personal beliefs. He was a hardcore racist, and there's a lot of proof of that out there, and some people won't read him for that reason alone.
What's really interesting, all of you, even if you're not a Lovecraft fan, you will be, I hope, by the time if you listen to this book. But like I said, it's 50 hours, so I'm only like halfway through the compendium right now. But what I really like is each story has like a prologue that is from a Lovecraft scholar who talks about what's happening in his personal life at this time and when this originally was published and how it was fought over by 2 or 3 people once his death happened and they wanted the rights to it. So it gives you a lot of good history, personal history about Lovecraft as well, which I think helps the story. Also, the story is narrated by 15, 18 different people. So it's not like you're listening to one author for this entire 50 hours.
And I think I mentioned to you that Simon Vance is one of the one of the narrators, and he's one of my favorite narrators. He does the original Interview with the Vampire trilogy by Anne Rice. He's great at doing accents and stuff.
I hadn't thought about your comparison, but I really agree with that. You write a poem and suddenly you're vaulted into literature. You publish yours in a pulp monthly or weekly, and suddenly you're a nondescript writer who's just a hack.
Stephen King was considered a hack for the longest time, and now he's garnered more respect with the authors and the Authors Guild and all these other organizations.
But I also think because of the way he wrote, Lovecraft could take chances. His stories don't follow sometimes even traditional narrative structure.
No, sometimes they're boring.
Oh, yeah. That's true, too. But also sometimes they're just really creepy from like the first sentence and it never stops. Which is the best segue into this freaking topic this week. Jesus. Why you made me endure this, I don't know, but that's okay.
Funny that you mentioned that. He could be very obscure. This movie is very obscure. And also, I mentioned David Cronenberg being a very unique director. And while I think this is a one-off, I doubt that we're going to see many more from this director. It distinctly reminds me of another director that we'll talk about when we get to Keys. We're talking about a little movie from 2018, folks. It's very recent, called Possum. I guess the best introduction to this would be we played a clip over a ton of promos and intros and things last year, at least I did, on YouTube, of me talking about having seen this movie and freaking David out. And it's just one of the funniest clips I think I've ever seen of David, and that's why I ended up using it over and over and over again, because he's got this thing where he doesn't like giant spiders, and I already knew he didn't like clowns, and this spider has a head that kind of looks like a clown face. So a giant spider with a clown face is David's worst nightmare. Anyway, that's why we ended up doing this movie, and I've got another story that is a reason for why I watched this movie as well. But let me tell you a little bit about it. Basically, it's a very small film. It's very little dialogue. It's about a man who has been disgraced as a teacher slash or puppeteer, and he returns to his childhood home, which is decrepit because it at one time been burned, and his uncle still lives there, and he is trying to get rid of this puppet that he carries around in a bag, and it's this spider puppet with like a human head, as I mentioned, and the damn thing keeps coming back. He does a lot of things, like he leaves it somewhere, or he sinks it underwater, or he sets it on fire, and the damn thing keeps coming back. Meanwhile, there's a subplot where there is an abducted child, or he's really a teen, I guess you'd say, an adolescent, that's missing. And they play with ambiguity where it looks like maybe the puppeteer is the person that could be potentially doing this, or maybe it's his uncle, and maybe it actually happened to the puppeteer at one time in his life. There's a lot of strong abuse subtext in this, because there is definitely something wrong with Philip, the puppeteer. He has definitely experienced some childhood trauma to have such a creepy puppet and either think it's coming back because he is doing away with it, or it really is coming back, because they play with that line too, whether or not this is really happening or not. It's a spoiler. There's a history of boys being kidnapped because he sees it in an article or hears it on the news. I can't remember. And he sees this boy on the train, and he wants to talk to him about something. I can't remember. And the boy just is afraid of him and runs away. And then later on, we find out that boy is missing. Well, at the very end of the movie, in this decrepit house that the uncle still lives in, Philip keeps staring at this door. So there's this big significance of this door and why he won't go into that room. And the uncle's always like, "You're going to go in there? Are you going to go in there?" And he always says no. So we know something bad happened in that room. Eventually he does go into the room. We discover that the masked killer kidnapper is the uncle, of course, and that the uncle probably abused Philip as a child too. That's very heavily insinuated. And there is a suitcase that Philip hears a muffled little whimper from, and he ends up fighting the uncle, breaking the uncle's neck. He opens the suitcase, and out pops the kid that he had seen on the train, and he runs out the door, and that's basically the end of the movie.
The room is actually the room where his parents burned to death.
It is. There's a bed in that room that is burnt, and it's where his parents died.
Yes.
And I'm assuming it could potentially be the room that the uncle also molested him in as well. I don't know. Who knows? Because I'm assuming the uncle raised him after the parents were gone.
Yeah.
Because I don't think he was an adult yet. What I don't understand is I never really know why he's a disgraced puppeteer. What did he do? Just maybe because he's so mentally unbalanced, I guess.
Well, in doing research on this, I can't remember, was this based on anything? Was this based on
It is. It's based on a short story in a collection written by Matthew Holness. He writes scary short stories, but he is also like a British comedian.
In the short story, Philip makes the puppet his own face with the spider legs and everything else, but he makes it out of roadkill. So it's not even cloth and stuff like that. It's actually animal fur and bones and stuff like that. And he just brings it and presents it at a child's birthday party. And because of the hideousness of it, he's the disgraced puppeteer now.
Is this in the short story?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, you did a little bit further research than I did.
Okay, we usually ask, have you seen this before? No, I'd never even heard of this movie before you mentioned this movie. The trailer alone terrified me and made me very uncomfortable and creeped out and scared and everything else. And I have to say, this is a really great horror movie.
Yeah, I think so too.
It does what films do best, which is it's still lingering in my head and I'm still thinking about it. And it's so layered. And so much is left. We talked last week about Prometheus being so convoluted and ambiguous And some of the ambiguity we liked, but most of it we didn't. In this one, the ambiguity all works because it doesn't explain. The more you do a deep dive into the production of this movie and the interview with Matthew Holness, who also directed it, there's so much subtext that he wanted the viewer to take their own thing out of, even down to the fact that there is no uncle. He never exists. That's Philip's trauma. And the reason that he's come back and the reason the door is there and the reason that the puppet keeps coming, all that's in his head.
I see that as the puppet. I didn't see that as the uncle. I saw puppet being his trauma because he can't shake it.
Well, there's also interpretation of the last scene justifying or revealing the fact that the uncle was never there. Philip was actually the one who abused the boys because his uncle had abused him when he was a kid. But he's the one that's actually abused the boys. That's why he sees him on the train. That's why we never see the uncle see the kid or whatever. Right. And this is him coming to grips with his own darker side. That's why he kills him and releases the boy, because he's the one that actually put the boy in the trunk and everything else and yada yada.
But who would he kill if there is no uncle?
He's killing his guilt for the trauma or his own,
you're speaking
his own
as
darker
the whole
side.
thing being a metaphor.
Yeah, the whole thing is a metaphor for him trying to come to grips with the trauma that happened to him and the person he's turned into, which is very interesting. Also, I have to say, just for the record, anybody out there, if you haven't seen this movie and you want to, one of the best jump scares in history is in this movie. I'm not going to even tell you where because you don't need to know where it is.
And it's not really a jump.
It comes out of nowhere, and I literally threw my coffee up in the air. It scared the crap out of me.
That's a good Halloween movie.
Wow. I am serious. If you haven't seen this movie, go watch it right now. If you have seen it, you know what I'm talking about. Tell me if I'm wrong or right. But I guarantee it's one of the best. Well, it actually has another one that's an edit cut, but it's one of those times when Philip wakes up and the puppet is crawling up his bed. To me, those of you who don't know what Tim has said earlier, I don't mind little spiders, baby spiders, even an inch spider, tarantula, okay. I don't mind giant spiders like the movie Tarantula or Amazing Spider Invasion or, a gigantos Godzilla-sized spider. It's the in-between. Once it gets like dog size, chihuahua size, bigger than a human size, no. No. The spiders in Skyrim, don't like them. Nope, don't like them. And then put a clown or a human face on it. Why the hell would you do that? Why would you do that? It was just, oh, man. Every time he would pick it up and just look at it, I was like, oh, God, put that down, put that down, put that down.
I almost did a double feature with this movie because I watched another movie not too long ago and I've talked to you about it. Actually, I did a genre topic on it called Daddy's Head, and there's a spider-like creature with a human head in that movie too. And I thought, well, those pair up nicely. But this movie, to me, is a much better film, and I think it deserved its own episode.
Well, there's the new Adam Sandler one. It's science fiction, yet the alien in it is a freaking spider that talks to him.
Let me give you my history with this film. Some of you out there know, if you watch us regularly, that I was on my ass for a couple of years because I couldn't sleep because I had a hip/back problem and ended up having 2 surgeries to correct it. This, you can't really see it right now because I've got a background up, but I am in my office and there's a recliner behind me, and I slept in that recliner for 1.5 years because I couldn't sleep in a bed. And I was over here one night on my tablet and I read that Mike Flanagan was touting this movie. He said, I'll read it. Mike Flanagan praises Matthew Holness's Possum as a deeply unsettling horror film with powerful atmosphere of dread, according to Collider and Dread Central. He highlights the film's effective use of atmosphere to create a sense of unease and suggests it is a must-watch for fans of indie horror. Flanagan specifically notes the film's nightmare-inducing imagery and a tour de force performance by Sean Harris. So I was like, okay, I got to watch this. It garnered like 90 something on Rotten Tomatoes. So I was like, okay, I'll watch this. I sat over here watching this on a tablet and it terrified me. I was like shaking while I was watching it. And I thought, why is this movie scaring me so much? Yeah, so that was my experience with it a couple of years ago, and then I watched it a couple of nights ago before we did this podcast, and I knew it would be your first time, and I was really curious to see how you were going to react. I was afraid you weren't going to like it because of why a lot of modern horror audiences might not like it. It is a slow burn with not really a giant payoff. But it is
Correct.
just like Mike Flanagan describes. It is a tour de force performance, and it is nightmare-inducing because it is that creepy.
Well, it's like I said, the best movies, whether it's The Shining or this or 2001, they leave you with all this ambiguity and this imagery and these thoughts, and you're thinking about it and putting things together. From the opening credits, this credit sequence, too, I think deserves an award. The credit sequence for this movie is unnerving. The way the imagery he picks and the music that he has underneath it, it is so startling. You will remember it. To me, it's almost as endemic as the opening credits of Altered States, the ending credits of Night of the Living Dead.
Okay, you've got to save those for keys. Just remind me because I've got some too from that.
Yeah.
I'm
that
looking
opening credit sequence is so disturbing and so good and sets you in this mindset of the production values and the images and the framing and everything he's going to share with you is going to disturb you. And not disturb you like what I've said before, like a Henry the serial killer disturbing, like, oh, I should just kill myself for ever watching this or cut my eyes out because this is human depravity. This does have, like you said, abuse and trauma undercurrents.
Yeah, it's more than just your monster horror. It's also like mental horror.
But his portrayal of Philip is so compelling that you want him to be your hero. You feel so sorry for him at times. And there are other times when you're very curious, why is Philip making the decisions he's making? Why is he doing this? And we don't really get a lot of answer on that. So yes, to your point about modern audiences, it's a slow burn. There's not a giant payoff of it. This is a nightmare film. And it's not a Annabelle jumps out of the shadows nightmare film. It's a very logical
and well thought out.
Yeah. Very.
A little bit of background. Matthew Holness, I mentioned, is an English comedian. He's also a director, an author, and an actor. And he's more known for playing a character, like a cult character named Garth Marenghi. And there's a film called Garth Marenghi's Dark Place from 2004 that he starred in. He also did a movie called A Gun for George, but then this is his latest movie. All these movies are like 8 years apart. He doesn't do them very often because he probably makes more money as a comedian. I don't know. Oh, the Garth Marenghi character is depicted as a conceited hack writer who remains blissfully or even willfully unaware of his lack of talent. So it makes me want to check out this character he's known for and how something like that could create something like this movie, which is something he wrote as a short story in a book. The character that I just mentioned, Garth Marenghi, appeared in 2 stage shows and the award-nominated Garth Marenghi's Fright Night, K-N-I-G-H-T, and Garth Marenghi's Netherhead, and the Channel 4 TV series Garth Marenghi's Dark Place, which is what I mentioned earlier. He's done several of these movies with this Garth Marenghi, which piques my curiosity a little bit. In the years following its release, various media outlets have included Possum in their list of the top horror films within the last 5 years. Horror film magazine Fangoria has also praised the film as one of the best horror films in the past decade. In 2019, Scott Weinberg of the entertainment website Thrillist included the film in his list of best horror movies of 2018. So it's making the list, but no one knows about it, including you.
Yeah, so bizarre. So weird. But it's like Artifice Girl that we did.
Right.
I thought it was excellent science fiction and should be noted. And it's getting critics praise it and stuff like that, but you don't see it anywhere or advertised anywhere. So,
Right. But that's how it is with a lot of indie horror and, well, indie in general.
I would hope eventually this will become a cult film. I think it might.
I don't see how it couldn't.
And especially the fact that he wrote it and filmed it. Basically, there's only really two people in this movie. The exterior characters may be in one scene, and some of them don't even have dialogue. It's these two people. And like I said, there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff you can research from the way they shot it and the way they did it and what they themselves chose to do. I actually used it as an example in my acting class because the uncle who's Maurice or whatever, the uncle,
Alan.
which by the way, okay, so ambiguous. This may help people as they watch it. If you look at my notes, which I'll probably send you just because some of them are funny, but halfway through the film, I still didn't know the relationship with him. I said, is that his landlord? Is that his dad? Is that like an older brother? It says it's his house. So who is he? I don't know who he is.
It technically is Philip's house. He inherited it from his parents, but his uncle still lives there.
Right. Which again, people say that the uncle is never there. It's like other films where the character sees it, but it's an unreliable narrator because it's really in their mind. But
makes me want to read the story now.
In production, the actor who played the uncle refused to talk to Sean Harris. They didn't talk about rehearsals. They didn't talk to each other. He would not speak to him offset at all. And when talking to Holness about it, he said, I need them to be antagonistic. He doesn't like his uncle or really even know his uncle as a person. So I don't want Sean Harris to know what my favorite thing is or my relationships with my wife or anything. I don't want him to know me. I want him to feel like I'm a stranger. So in all of our scenes together, he really doesn't know how I'm going to react because he doesn't know me. And I thought that is such a cool idea for actors to try.
Yeah.
Now, would I personally recommend that to a lot of movies or plays or whatever? Or no, probably not. But it worked in this because there is such an estrangement between the two of them and the way Sean Harris, because a lot of this movie is also a close-up of Sean Harris's face. So we're seeing a lot of reactions from him in this.
I can give you another example of an actor. Meryl Streep, when she did The Devil Wears Prada, refused to talk with Anne Hathaway and Emily Blunt and everybody because she wanted to be intimidating as Anna Wintour in that movie. And it's a great movie and it works. Meryl Streep says in retrospect she hated it because she likes those actors now and she misses that she didn't get to have camaraderie with them when they were producing that film. Well, guess what? They're doing a sequel and now she can be friends with them. She wanted them to see her as antagonistic, which is very similar to how Alan Armstrong, that's who plays the uncle in this.
Sean Harris's choices in this are so good. When he walks and he keeps his hands like almost in front, like almost right beside his thighs, above his thighs, when he walks. And it gives him this on the spectrum, uncomfortable weirdness to him,
Oddity.
even in long shots.
He's very odd.
If you watch the series that came out a few years ago called Humans, it's a British series, a BBC series, but it's about androids. The one big thing that they always told the actors playing the androids is you never wave your arms. Your arms stay at your sides the whole time. And if you ever go out and walk around and try to walk without swaying your arms, with it just keeping them solid, it looks goofy and weird and strange and feels weird. And that's what they wanted for the androids. Yeah. So it's just, God. But some of the choices
Boo.
Yeah, stop it. There's another thing, too, that I do think is ambiguous about this. And maybe I need to rewatch it and see if it's ever said, because I don't think it was. But I never saw that thing in his bag as a puppet, and I never saw him puppeteer it.
There is one shot of it where you can see where an arm would go up inside it.
It's that shot when he picks it up and he's actually looking at it, and you
Right.
suddenly realize the face on it looks a lot like him.
Yeah. However, if
the
you read
nose-
about it online, they say it's a marionette because it would probably have to be to make the legs move. So
Well, of
I
course.
guess it's a hand puppet and a marionette. I don't know. But it looks like a hand puppet the way he handles it.
I think that was some ambiguity that was lost, and that was my only add to this movie is maybe, to your point earlier, maybe we needed one little short flashback scene of him puppeteering that at a kid's party and
And
horrified
like
the kids are.
disastrous results.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what made him leave town to begin with. And we would have gotten a lot more, I think, clarity. But is that a puppet? How does he manipulate the legs if it's a puppet?
And puppets are associated with kids and kids shows and entertainment. Who the hell would have a puppet that's scary?
No, hell no. It's bad enough having a clown. They're terrifying, but
Yeah.
with spider legs and no.
What's so creepy about I said boo a while ago, folks, and those of you listening to the podcast can't see it, but I flashed a picture up behind me for David. And one thing that is real creepy about that shot of the puppet lying in bed with him is that it's got a human eye. That's like a real person with a mask on or something. Never does it look that alive as it does when it's face to face with him in bed.
Which you get the impression is every morning when he wakes up, it is in
sees
his
that.
bed. Yeah, because part of the whole middle part of the movie is him trying to get rid of the puppet. So he
Right.
literally throws it in the river at one point and he burns it, like you said. And then the next morning, the fucker is in bed with him.
It's like
Hell
a
no.
dog. It won't get out of the bed. You're
Yeah,
gonna wake
throwing
up with
rocks
it every
at it.
time.
Or whatever. Looking over my notes, I have at one point, this is where my mind is. It says, okay, I'm exactly 56 minutes into this movie. I still don't know who this old guy is. Is he his landlord? Obviously, there was a fire. Did it kill his parents? He left. What's he doing? Was he arrested? Did he come from an orphanage? Why did he come back? What's going on? I haven't seen evidence of a puppet, even though it says puppet in the trailer. So that's my note. Right there,
Yeah.
one note. It's an hour into the movie.
But you see the puppet earlier than that.
You do, but you don't see it's a puppet. It could just be a freaking stuffed animal carrying around that happens to be a spider with a human head.
Oh, I
Stupid.
see what you mean. And there's
don't
always
s-
these teaser shots where you see like a corner and just the tip of a leg coming around it.
It's that freaking, he's in the academy or wherever, because he goes to visit, I guess,
His
he was,
childhood school, isn't it?
he was obviously in an academy or something. And it's all derelict and decrepit and everything. But he's looking down this long hallway, and at the very freaking end of it, all of a sudden you just see the two little legs, and then the head comes out sideways like this. I went, hell no. Get me out of this building. There is no reason for that to be happening.
These are the reactions that I liked, that I used in that clip of you so much last year. The exact same reaction.
No. And he does other stuff too, very subtly, I think. And I assume this is Holness, the director, or whatever, but like he'll be holding the puppet mostly by the body, so because it's got a human size head. And he's like looking at it, or he's holding it, or whatever. And just at the very corner of the frame, like way down here or whatever, just the leg will go and just move. And you don't know, did he shake it and that's making the leg move? Or is it starting to come to life? I don't know. Throw it the frick down and set it on fire, run over it with a tractor, whatever you
Doesn't
need
matter.
to do.
It's going to come back, David. It's gonna
I
come
totally
get
agreed
David.
with him going, throw it in the river. Then why would you go back to the river? You don't want that back? No.
Yeah.
I also
Yeah.
love the side note, but I also love the choice he made when Philip first throws it away and he's trying to get away from the bridge where he threw it, and he falls down and passes out. And when he wakes up, half of his face and half of his whole body is covered in mud because he fell on his
yeah.
side. But when he keeps showing the shots of Philip, it looks like black and white. He's one side black, one side white. And I kept thinking, obviously that was a choice, but did he mean us to think Philip is half good, half bad? The puppet is the bad side and he's only got half of it now? I thought it was really cool ideas. Again, artistic without being distracting, but also terrifying. So, yeah.
I'm looking, we're segueing into scenes, which we would have normally done a lot earlier, and you just mentioned that scene. Well, one of the things I wanted to mention was this is an indie horror movie from the UK. I feel like it was so small that it wouldn't have that big a production crew, but if you look at the crew on IMDb, there's a lot of people behind this movie that worked on it, and I don't know who was their location scout, but those are some of the best location shots I've ever seen in my life. I was like, this is the creepiest movie I've ever seen. It looks like post-apocalyptic small town England.
Just derelict and moody and muddy and
empty.
Cold. Empty. You rarely see any.
There's nobody else.
Other people or vehicles or anything. It's a very desolate feel to it, which I think adds to the I'm alone, desperation, dread, or whatever Philip's character. It's really,
so the whole time I was thinking,
strong.
Did this homeless guy grow up here and know all these places? And then I look, and there's a huge production crew behind this. So he had some money to make this movie. There's even a casting director. Two roles, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. I would suggest, because it may have contributed to my really liking this movie a lot, but also the terror that I'm still feeling from it. I kept seeing this title come up in all these lists of, because I'm trying to assemble the best science fiction films ever made as a possible project. And this one title kept coming up in all these lists, and I had never heard of it before. And it's called Stalker. Stalker. And let me grab it real quick because you just reminded me of it.
I was going to say, I've never heard of it, I don't think.
It's a Russian film that came out in 1979.
Oh, yeah.
And it makes a lot of these people's best science fiction films ever made list, like in their top 20. And it's in pseudo black and white, almost like in a sepia tone. I've watched about 2/3 of it now, but I mention it just because the locations he found are brilliant. They're very desolate. They're very dark. He does a little bit more of an urban feel to it, and there's many more characters in it. But it is a very slow burn, dark, depressing, weird movie. I haven't reached the end of it yet, but I just started it a couple of weeks ago.
Side note, the sci-fi horror movie that's always on the top of lists too that I want to see called Sputnik. And it's like an
Sputnik,
alien movie. Have you seen it? It's
I've
Russian
not seen
too.
it yet, but it's on my list.
It's on my list. I've been wanting to watch it. I think it may be on Shudder. But anyway, digression aside. Any other scenes before I move on to the cast? Every scene in this movie is like a work of art.
Correct. There's a reason for it. But I guess the two that stick out to me, the credits, of course.
They're very, very well done.
And the Fox story, the scene.
Yes, I forgot about that. Oh, my God.
The actor who plays Maurice should be the pinnacle of, this is the creepy guy that is stalking the school or standing
He's a British character actor. He's been in a lot of stuff.
Yeah, seen him in a lot of stuff, but he's great in this. Basically prods Philip into retelling this story from his youth.
Yes.
And that story, it reminded me, jumping to keys, but it's very Stephen King.
I would agree with that. Mm-hmm.
Because it was obviously hugely traumatic to Philip, and yet the uncle is taking glee out of him retelling it and being uncomfortable still as an adult retelling this traumatic story.
And the story could also be a metaphor for him as well.
Yeah, oh God, easily.
Because he witnesses these kids kick a fox to death, basically.
Yes.
And then as he's leaving and turns back, the fox is alive and just trots away.
Mm-hmm. And it happens twice more in the movie where he sees a fox. And Other people have commented in like reviews of this movie and everything else that that's emphasizing even more that that's part of Philip trying to deal with his trauma, that it will always come back.
Yeah.
Even if it's dead and killed, it will come back, which is the same thing that happens to his frickin' creepy ass puppet. So,
Yeah.
and I would say
forgotten all that
those three
scene.
scenes are the credits, the Fox story, and the last scene
Yeah.
when he goes into the room.
Okay.
Oh,
I always like that weirdness with him. Here's a shot of it. Him going to that weird tree that looks like a spider and
Yeah.
putting the bag in the center of it as like a head. But then you see the legs come out of the bag.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's just a lot of great scenes in this movie.
I'd be chopping that whole area down in the woods. There's no reason to have trees that
spider
look like
tree?
spider legs. No, hell no. I don't know why he did that. I don't know what the purpose of that was, other than that's him getting rid of it again, or is that him trying to emulate it? So,
Yeah.
because there's a lot of him just looking at it. This is a very ambiguous movie, but man, it's creepy feeling.
Yeah.
It's just
All right.
so
This movie stars Sean Harris as Philip, the main
Yes.
character. He is an Irish actor, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
He was in The Green Knight, which we covered the last season or the season before.
Mm-hmm.
It was a movie we had not seen that we paired up with Excalibur. He played the king that was alluded to be King Arthur. Very good. But I didn't realize, and you should recognize him, he's in the Mission Impossible movies. He's got like a recurring character in those movies. Jumping ahead a little bit into keys, one of the big influences for wholeness to make this movie was George Romero's Martin, the weird
Really?
vampire from
Oh,
the
yeah,
70s.
I guess I could see that.
And Wholeness wrote it with the intention of having John Amplas, who starred in Martin, play this character.
Ah,
The role instead went to Sean Harris, who responded strongly to the idea of starring in it after he read the script. So he campaigned for this role when he read the script. He does not smile one time in this entire film. As a matter of fact, he has a frown. If you watch,
Oh,
he's
yeah.
basically frowning the entire movie.
and it's a real downturn. Not clown-like, but he's very haunted for the whole
Yeah,
movie.
it says that he has a frown 95% of the film. So he may move a little bit, but mostly he's frowning.
Well, when he's not frowning, I think it's the scenes where he is either scared or he is contemplating. Like the scene when he's on the train looking at the boys. It's like a neutral expression. But yeah, you're right. He never smiles. And the uncle smokes a lot.
Alan Armstrong plays Maurice. We most recently saw him in Sleepy Hollow. He was the high constable in New York that sends Ichabod Crane back into the woods of northern New York to investigate these headless murders or whatever. So he was like in the very beginning of that. And I think he may appear in the middle of it too. Doesn't Ichabod go back for a minute and he sends him back or something? I can't remember. Anyway, so we recognize him from that. But he looks like a guy that would be in every Terry Gilliam movie ever made. He was a member of the original London cast of Cameron Mackintosh's stage production of Les Miserables, which opened in 1985.
Yeah.
He was awarded the Laurence Olivier Theatre Award in 1994 for the 1993 season for Best Actor in a Musical for his performance in Sweeney Todd. So he can sing too.
Obviously.
Yeah, you can't do that part if you can't sing.
No,
No.
no.
That's really all I have on Sean Harris and Alan Armstrong because I just don't know that much about them. But I'm very impressed with them. And we have now covered 3 movies with Sean Harris in it because we covered The Green Knight, and then he was also in last week's that we
he's in
did,
Prometheus.
Yeah, exactly. There's a couple of other characters that we don't know and don't really need to. Andy Blythe played Michael's father. Ryan Never played Michael's uncle, I guess in flashback scenes maybe.
Or in the Where is Our Son scene. There's also the principal that comes, or the teacher, whatever.
I'm
that
sorry,
comes
you're
out
right.
at one point.
Michael is the kid that's kidnapped. You're right. That's okay.
Yeah.
I had that backwards. Okay. So we do see them briefly.
Yeah, I think they're in the, oh, please bring our son back to us scene or whatever. There's only one kid that's kidnapped in this, but it's implied that when Philip was younger and his uncle was more aggressive or whatever, that there was a series of boys that disappeared and were probably molested, killed. And it's very black phone, but the black phone is more of a hero story of one of the prisoners. This is more of a dark possibility of at least one of the villains.
Well, I think the strength in this film is obviously the ambiguity and the fact that it has us talking so much about it and asking so many questions about it, but they're not confounded questions like last week with Prometheus. These are questions of possibilities. And I personally like the idea of the uncle being real and the uncle having abused him and him using the puppet as a metaphor for his abuse or whatever. That to me rings more true. But it's got me really wanting to find this short story now and read it because I want to see what his original intentions were with the short story. Does that make sense?
But he might not even explain it in the short story. Is the puppet a hallucination? Is the uncle an hallucination? Or is it real? I tend to agree with you. I like the fact that, or my thought in watching it was, the uncle was a viable, real human.
A villain.
The puppet may have been hallucinatory just at times, just because he throws it away and it appears in his bed. And, or he is going through such a psychotic break that dumping it, he then picked it up, put it back, and put it in his bed at night, but doesn't even remember that part.
Right. I like that too, but who knows? I also like the fact that it could be alive and really coming back, which is just
it's not.
Way out there.
We don't like that thought at all. We don't like that thought at all. No.
Before I move on, there were some awards. Fango Chainsaw Awards nominated this for Best Creature Effects, and the Golden Trailer Awards nominated it for Best Foreign Horror Trailer. However, the Brooklyn Horror Film Festival gave it wins for Best Actor, Best Cinematography, and Best Supporting Actor. So there's some people in Brooklyn, New York that saw this movie for what it is.
Yeah.
I thought that was great. It is not on the 1001 movies you must see before you die list, but like you said, if this movie became a cult movie, I could see it getting on that list because this movie is well worth watching. This is a disturbing movie.
It is, very much. This is a nightmare on film.
Yeah.
Seriously. Yeah.
Which is a good segue to Keys, actually, but I had one trivia. Oh, it's not really a trivia. He finds a book that he created as a kid where he creates the character of Possum. And he has this poem that says, "Can you spy him deep within? Little possum, black as sin. Bag is open, growing wider. What's inside it, man or spider? Little boy, don't lose your way. Possum wants to come and play."
Yeah. Sure.
And there's other verses of it. I don't have those, but
I have the first two. Hold on. The first two are, so it starts with mother, father, what's afoot? Only possum, black as soot. Mother, father, where to tread? Far from possum and his head. See, Jesus Christ. Look at possum, there he lies. Children, meet his lifeless eyes. See his nasty legs and tongue. When he wakens, watch him run. No. See, this is just scary poetry. There's no reason. And you get the impression it's like a 12-year-old kid who was writing this and drawing black, huge spider things in his notebook. That's creepy. Creepy. Yeah. Well, and I have a segue key to that, which is essentially that's a nursery rhyme, the nursery rhyme in Nightmare on Elm Street.
That is not what I thought you were going to say.
What did you think I was going to say?
I was going to say the Babadook.
Yeah. Well, that's my other one, is the Babadook would have made a great double feature with this film because there's the book in it, which is, again, a children's book, and it deals with trauma.
Right.
And having to, how you how you handle trauma and how you deal with it in a nightmarish, very scary way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My biggest key, and one of the reasons why I did David Cronenberg as my genre topic of the week, is that this movie is a little bit Cronenberg, but it's a much more of a David Lynch film. This film
Very much.
looks so much like, I don't know, it's like Eraserhead or any of those really creepy David Lynch movies.
Yes, I actually have in my notes, this is the movie David Lynch wishes he made.
Oh yeah, yeah. You know,
Because
he
it
would've
really
loved
is.
it.
This is a very Lynchian, but it's done in such a narrative style that's much better than Lynch ever was, in my opinion. But then again, those of you who really love Lynch out there, defend him. Say it in the comments. Let us know. I think this is much better than a Lynchian piece.
You know, he died just this year. So he
Yeah.
probably saw this movie. I hope he saw this movie because he probably loved it.
Oh, yeah. I guarantee you. Yeah. Yeah, I have Eraserhead. That's one of my keys coming from the Lynchian thing. I also have Frankenstein. The whole, I created a character that now terrifies me and chases me, and I can't get rid of it no matter
Very
what.
good. Yeah.
Because that's the whole last half of Frankenstein is him having to deal with the monster he created. So I've got that. I've also got some I guess it's more cinematography related keys, but this is very German expressionistic Cabinet of Dr. Caligari feel without the weird angles, the Tim Burton-y stuff, but the desolation and the lack of people and great landscapes and places that he finds is very
Fritz Lang.
Fritz Lang, Man Against the Environment. I also have this could be listed as the greatest student film ever made.
Yeah, but it's clearly got great production values and a crew.
Oh yeah, I only need 2 actors for this. I need my friends as the kids in one train scene. Everybody else is fine.
And a
we're just
creepy
gonna-
puppet. And that's
and a
all
creepy
you
puppet.
need. It's
That's
like a
all you
movie
need.
we could have made on videotape. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, not nearly as artistic as him though. Wholeness is really
No,
good.
and we would have had to scout a lot of locations around East Tennessee to do it. But yeah,
True.
you mentioned the credit sequence, and the credit sequence does remind me of Night of the Living Dead, especially the end credits of Night of the Living Dead, where they're burning the bodies. But to me, it reminds me not of the latter ones, but of the beginning seasons of The Walking Dead. It's the same, like, sepia tone, still shots, and like
Yes.
sporadic placement of images and stuff. Very Walking Dead.
Except this has much more discordant music. The music is very disturbing throughout this movie, but especially in the credit sequence.
Yeah.
I also have in my credit things, I have Night of the Living Dead, the ending credits. I have Altered States, the beginning credits, because they're so noteworthy and you remember them. Also, Hitchcock. Hitchcock mainstream ones, Frenzy, Vertigo, Psycho, all the credit sequences set up the movie and the feeling that he wants from it. Whether it's Vertigo and everything is all those spirals and stuff in the credit sequence. But the other one I have is Bond.
Rear Window
the Bond
does it
movies.
too, doesn't it? Have like
Yep,
different pictures of windows and views and stuff, I think.
yep. But the Bond movies all have very notable credit sequences that thematically go through what the movie's going to be. I think that's an art form that's been lost.
I have a key that you still have not seen that this may make you want to watch because you can now
not.
access it.
Well, yeah, okay.
This movie reminds me so much of the series Channel Zero. There's 4 seasons of Channel Zero, and each one gives you the very same feeling that this movie does. That's just underlying, creepy, disturbing horror. The first 3 seasons may be on Prime now. It's a show that I want to go back and rewatch. And the first season is about some puppets, some children television puppets.
I have one that I can't believe you haven't mentioned, but it hit me from like the second scene in this, and I went, okay, obviously he has seen this. The director holding this has seen this movie and inspired him, and it was Basket Case because the character
Why?
carries around this
Oh, he
thing
carries
that
around
has
a bag.
has a thing in it, and
Yeah.
so it was very reminiscent to me of Basket Case.
And now that you mentioned it, how did I miss that? That is
How
crazy.
did you miss that one? I was going, oh my God, Tim's going to go.
Yeah, it's Dwayne and Belial,
Belial, his brother or whatever.
his brother. He looks kind of like a squashed octopus.
Yeah.
Love that movie. I would love to see that movie remade. I have a bunch from IMDb because these are some that even Holness himself has said inspired this movie. The short story of the same name was in an anthology called The New Uncanny Tales of Unease. It is partially inspired by the theories on the uncanny by Sigmund Freud, which I knew nothing about. This is all news to me. So Sigmund Freud apparently had theories on the uncanny, and then some British author decided to edit an anthology called The New Uncanny Tales of Unease, and it has the story of the same name. Because I do think Possum is a strange name for this film. It's like, why do you call the puppet Possum? It's a spider.
I think it ties into the fox story because the fox was playing dead.
Oh, okay. That makes
So
sense.
that's the only rationale I could come
Oh,
up with.
God,
why
that's
does he
another
call it Possum.
layer.
Yeah.
Because the puppet's
why does
playing
he-
dead, and he's
The
not.
puppet is playing dead, but it's not.
Oh, my God, that's so creepy.
So, and again, that underlying, if it is true or is a possibility, that's also his trauma or his perversion. If you go with the theory that he's the killer, it plays dead all the time and only comes out when it wants to. And he really can't control that. That's why when he's walking along, he turns around and looks, there's a fox lying there. And then he walks a little bit farther and turns around and looks, and the fox is standing on the sidewalk and runs away. So there's a lot of that.
And it
Things
looks
aren't what
more
they
real
appear.
than that fox in The Green Knight.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I saw that too, the theories of the uncanny. So I looked it up. Did you look up the definition of the theory of uncanny and what it is?
No.
Listen to this. This is word for word. I'm just going to read it because I think you'll like it. The uncanny is a feeling one can experience in real life or when watching or reading books, film, art, and so on. It arises when one experiences something which is at the same time familiar but strange. This causes a feeling of uncertainty, unease, and dread closely associated with horror. Classic examples of uncanny moments and objects are déjà vu, time loops, repetitions, doubles, twins, doppelgangers, ghosts, moving paintings, never-ending staircases like Escher, and living dolls. That's
well,
the
that
theory of
explains
the uncanny.
That then Channel Zero is a show of the uncanny.
Okay.
That's funny. Interesting.
Yeah, I love that definition. Something that's familiar and yet strange at the same time. So it's cool. And I never knew. I'm like you. I never knew Sigmund Freud had that theory.
I didn't either. And I think it's really weird that a horror author or some author decided to do an anthology based on it.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. Very interesting. I want to find that book now. I mentioned that he listed films like Martin by George Romero as being.
Yes.
He also said Dead of Night, which is a film we covered a few seasons back, is also an inspiration of this film. That's the one with the ventriloquist dummy.
Yep. Okay.
From
now I remember.
1945. However, he also said, and it's funny that you said something about the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. He said German expressionist films, namely F.W. Murnau's Nosferatu.
Oh yeah. Oh gosh, yeah. Look at the
Okay.
design, the way Nosferatu was, and so spindly, and the nose and the chin and all that. And
Well, I
then-
think it's more the shots, though, and the scenery.
Yeah, and what's his name who redid that in the 70s tried to, with Klaus Kinski, tried to do it with color, but still use those vast empty marshes, moors, landscapes, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So similar to this. So
Yeah.
I could see Nosferatu.
He also said he drew upon his love of 20s and 30s silent films, and there's hardly any dialogue in this movie. It is mostly visual.
Correct.
It is.
Correct.
He found them to be brilliantly creepy, with the primary use of psychologically affecting body horror visual narratives. He wanted to replicate the same filmmaking technique, lamenting that many modern films overlook them and end up being less creepy. So he opted to make a modern silent horror film. This guy is smart. Most comedians are very intelligent.
This is also a very intellectual horror movie. You
Yeah.
have to think through it. It's kind of like next week's is too. But this is a great movie for Halloween. If you guys out there listening and watching have not seen this, you need to watch this movie.
Oh, yeah. Watch this late at night on Halloween.
Yes.
For sure. One other thing, there's all these interviews I found with Holness out there. He stated in an interview with Screen Daily that the film draws on dark nightmares of silent German expressionist horror, which I mentioned, but also British classics such as The Innocents, which we have also covered on the podcast.
Yep.
Which is an adaptation of Henry James' Turn of the Screw. Don't Look Now from 1973, which is the Julie Christie, Donald Sutherland, Nicholas Rogue movie.
Yep.
As well as The Suburban Gothic of Pete Walker's Frightmare from 1974. I don't think I've ever seen that.
I know I haven't. No.
I remember seeing the cover of it in videotape stores when I was young in the 80s, but I don't think I've ever seen the movie Frightmare.
Okay.
So that's another one that Holness said inspired him. So he had a lot of inspiration going into this. He's clearly a film study.
And it shows. His timing, his pacing, his choices. And also, we shouldn't disregard Philip and the performance. Because I think that had a lot to do with it as well. Like you said, never smiling, his posturing, we see those wheels turning in every shot. Something's going on.
I highly recommend this film. I'm thrilled that you like it because I was afraid you were going to be like, what the fuck is this? Because it's just a slow burn. There's nothing rapid in this movie. The fastest thing is that kid running out of the suitcase at the end.
Well, I mentioned Stalker and how it feels like that. I will say if you watch that movie, just get ready because it's paint drying pace. It's like trying to read War and Peace. To me, Dr. Zhivago is the same freaking way if you try to watch that movie. It takes for freaking ever. But that's just me. Speaking of just us, what do you guys think? That's our little take on Possum, and strongly agree that both of us like it, and we think it's great and a good scary movie, but also with a lot of intellectual behind it, and a lot of thought went into it production-wise too, and in acting and performance and shot structure and cinematography. So we would love to know what you guys think. If you've seen it and you like it, let us know. If you've seen it and you don't like it, tell us why. How were we wrong? How could we possibly be wrong? And if you haven't seen it, go look at it and then let us know. As always, we like to end the episodes by saying, please leave us a comment down below. Please subscribe, ring the bell so you know when we have new episodes coming out. We're into the season now and in a good rhythm and we've got some really great titles coming up for you, but we've also had some titles in the past. And if you like what you see, go back to our website. We also have a Patreon where we have additional titles that we do.
Supplemental material.
Supplemental material, yes, Tim said, yes. Star Trek, the original series, as well as X-Files, and also some free content on there too that we pop in there occasionally. And we always love our patrons and people who support us. We really appreciate that. But Tim, next week we're going to stay in Horrorland.
Yeah, next week we'll be a few days away from Halloween. It's not like a few seasons back when we did one on Halloween, but this one's on like the 27th, I think.
We're pretty close, so we can still enjoy it. And
it's a redux.
Yeah, it is. We're going to finally revisit a classic
that we did back before we were on video, and it is a classic for sure.
It is. But until then, try to stay away from spider puppets.
Believe me, I will. Unless I'm reading the
Okay.
story.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Update me on that when you read it.
I will. All right, take care.
Bye.
You can't start the car. Johnny has the key.